Everybody, welcome to another episode of Earthly Headlines. Today we're going to talk about stem cells and growing organs out of stem cells. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. If you don't know, stem cells are harvested and used to basically turn it into another cell. And this is very, very crude and rudimentary explanation. But so let's say you're in need of cells in your liver. You can just inject some stem cells in there. Pretty much good to go. In a nutshell, I mean, there's way more to it than that, but I'm just trying to explain it in a very low level. I know a lot of athletes who get stem cell therapy. So if they have I know a guy actually in my life, he got a torn labrum, which is in your shoulder. He's a baseball player. He basically repaired it with stem cells, basically. Whereas in the past, you'd have to get some type of complicated surgery and maybe even either a replacement, or you have to go through a long, rigorous physical therapy sessions. And even then, it might not be the same. But with stem cells, you still have to go through physical therapy and all that, but it works a lot quicker. There were, back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean not that long, but in the early days of stem cell research, I believe they had to harvest them from umbilical cords or placenta, like from fetuses, basically. I don't mean they killed fetuses or anything like that, but after the baby was born, all that stuff, like I said, the umbilical cord and stuff, they would extract stem cells from there. And for a long time, that's how they had to do it. But now it's a lot different. It's come a long way since then. Pretty soon, I think it's going to be accessible to everybody. The catastrophic injuries won't be as catastrophic anymore because we'll have stem cells now. And your heart blows up, hey, we could replace your heart. From this, after reading this, I think it's definitely possible. The headline reads, "Scientists grow full-size beating human hearts from stem cells. It's the closest we come to growing transplantable hearts in the lab." So of course, there's still a lot of dangers of like having a heart transplant, and especially right now, if you're lucky enough to get a donor heart, it's not guaranteed that your body will even accept it. There might be a huge immune system reaction that your body produces that might just kill you, basically. So they had to figure out a new way. Right here it says the biggest risk is their bodies will reject the new heart and launch a massive immune reaction against the foreign cells. So in order to do that, they use the patient's own cells to create, quote, synthetic organs, which, I mean, depending on your definition of synthetic, I mean, it's not, the word synthetic makes it sound like it's made out of plastic or something, but it's just your own cells. And this is like mind-blowing to me, that they could take your regular cells and reverse them into becoming stem cells again. That I don't understand that completely. So this team of scientists from Massachusetts and Harvard Medical School, they use your skin cells to regenerate functional human heart tissue. The way they do it is, it's not like where they just take a petri dish and it just grows out of this petri dish. It's definitely not like that. So what they do is they use a scaffolding on which the cells can build. So like if you think about a house with the frame already, you just got to put the drywall in and like the roof and all that stuff. That's what the stem cells do. They take the skeleton of the heart, which is usually like a cadaver heart, I think, from somewhere else. They just scrape all the shit off of it. They put stem cells that just sort of populate the scaffold, and from there it just builds until it's a fully fledged heart. And in the past, they use this technique which they take detergent and then they strip the cells. Like I said, they strip it with they literally bleach it off almost. It makes sure that there's no foreign cells. It's completely stripped of previous cells, and it just populates the city with your people, so to speak. So they did this a bunch of times with mouse hearts. Now they're doing it with human hearts. And they used 73 donor hearts that were deemed unfit for transplantation. They did that previous process I mentioned by taking adult skin cells, Right here it says they used a new technique with messenger RNA to turn them into pluripotent stem cells. Now, this technique is pretty groundbreaking, and if they can get it down with no problems, then man, it's only a matter of time that this becomes widespread and normal in everyday life. And I mean, that's right around the corner. The cells then become specialized to any type of cell in the body, in this case the heart, and they become induced to become two different types of cardiac cells. And so there's no longer, you're not going to have to, sit by on a waiting list just praying that you'll get a donor. And even if you don't have to pray that your body will take it, and this, everything you're doing, you're producing, except for the scaffolding, of course. That's going to be the next hump, I think. So after they call it the matrix, the remaining matrix, which is basically the heart. For 2 weeks, they infuse the heart with a nutrient solution. I wonder what that is. Like, I think it's akin to like being in like if you're a fetus in the amniotic sac. I think you're inside some nutrient-based whatever it is, solution plasma, and I think that's what they're replicating here. So this nutrient solution allows them to grow under similar forces to those a heart would be subject to inside the human body. After those 2 weeks, the hearts contained well-structured tissue that looked similar to immature hearts. When the researchers gave the hearts a shock of electricity, they started beating. So this is like Frankenstein's monster level technique, I guess, because they're literally pumping electrodes into a still beating heart, and then it comes back. That's intense. I mean, there's some sort of electromagnetic activity going on in our bodies, right? Like they've suspected that for a long time, but now it's, I mean, if you could 100% replicate that in a lab, then who knows what else could come from that. No, the sky's the limit from that point. Like, all bets are off from that point, right? So it's the closest researchers have come to their end goal, growing an entire working human heart. They're not quite ready to do that, however. They're planning to improve their yield of pluripotent stem cells. So I guess they're still having an issue with getting the required number, because you would need tens of billions to actually get it going consistently. But I think that's just a matter of time, really. And then once they find a way to help the cells mature more quickly and perfecting the body-like conditions in which the heart develops, then they can hope to create an individualized heart for their patient so that a transplant rejection would no longer be a likely side effect. That's probably the number one, the transplant rejection thing, your body rejecting a new cell. Once it's part of your body, they make the scaffolding and all that stuff out of your skin cells, then your body won't reject it at all, because it'll recognize it as its own. So once that threat is completely eradicated, then this might open the door for a bunch of other stuff too, like kidneys. People have kidney problems all the time. Liver, you could drink all day and then have a messed up liver, and then go to the pharmacy and then they'll give you a new liver, right? I mean, that sounds simple, and it sounds kind of dumb. Like, it sounds like I don't know F about science, but I mean, that's eventually the end point, right? Like, that's where they want it to be. And as far as like amputees go, I don't know if they'll be able to do that with stem cells. I mean, if they can if the scaffolding concept can carry over to limbs, then yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't work. But but if they can do it with the heart, I mean, the heart seems really complicated. They could probably do other things too, maybe even the brain. Like, if you could do a brain transplant and you're the same guy, the opportunities and the possibilities are endless. And this leads me to wonder, maybe some civilization in the remote past, did they get to this level? Did they know about stem cells? How could they know about stem cells? Did they have microscopes? Did someone back then? I mean, if they knew about, we were talking about precession of the equinoxes last time, and that in order to know about precession, you need to have observed at some point the entire 25,920 year cycle undisturbed. And then from there, once you were to observe the cycle starting again, then you would know for sure, oh, we're on a wobble. The only other way someone down the line had to have figured that out. So if they could figure that out, could they figure this out? Or is that a ridiculous question because those are just two different directions of progress. I mean, it is two different directions of progress, right? But was there a civilization similar to us where they could get to that point? I don't know. But the fact that it's even possible to grow organs, maybe it's not so far-fetched that the ancient Egyptian kings that were, or the ancient Sumerian kings ruled for 432,000 years, or 43,200 years, or 4,320 year reigns, right? If you guys have heard of the ancient Sumerian kings, their reigns were long. Now those could be allegories, and a lot of people just take it for that, like they're just metaphors or allegories for something else. But if they did know this type of stuff, you can just be a king forever, right? Like, isn't that what's going on now? Like David Rockefeller, he was 101 when he died, like a year ago, but he kept on going because he kept getting transplants, all kinds of different transplants. So who knows? 100 years down the line, maybe the richest people and the highest class of all the people, maybe they'll be able to live to be 250 years old. Well, anyway, what do you guys think about longevity? Is it even a good idea to pursue this? Is this sacrilege? Please tell me your thoughts, because I think it's gonna be an ethical and moral quandary, and it's gonna be like a mainstream issue. Right now, it's still kind of fringe, but I think this could, if we keep going the way we're going, I think it's probably gonna be one of the most talked about issues of the near, not too distant future. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.